Hey, it's Holden here, Run Pure Sports. We're going to talk some DFS. We're going to talk some betting. I got Mangone on the DFS side, and we got Keg from runpurebets.com on the betting side. We're going to get into the Packers and the Texans. Here's the 6 games: Packers, Texans, Steelers, and the Titans, Lions, Falcons, that Seattle, Arizona game that could have a total of 100 and people might bet it over. Panthers, Saints, and Browns, Bengals. Make sure you give us a like. Give us a little like there and subscribe to our YouTube channel, both of them, Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. We got some great content coming out this week. Mangone, my Wishbone podcast just dropped. G Rison and Uncle T. G Rison hit for another big sum of money on the DFS side. What do you want to plug later in the week?
Yeah, I'm on the cash game show with you, right? And on Friday we get to hang out again, right? You and I hang out all the time on Friday. It's like our day to hang, man.
We get to hold hands and be buddies.
We hit the town, right? As the kids say, or the old guys say. I don't know who says it, but yeah, you and I do the college football show, which the college football content has been absolutely awesome. So check that out. Bruce has been crushing it with that, and we're at a time now where like sports are dying down a bit, right? You know, the MLB is going to be done here soon. There's no basketball. What are you doing on Saturdays, right? Tell the wife, hey, more football to watch, more football to win money with. So yeah, get in on some college football. It's a good time. And then the cash show that we do on Friday, me and Hoop and you, and we talk about like the best plays and try to make the best lineup in our head and just discuss everything.
Keg, buddy. Always fun doing the live show with you on Monday nights. We do Monday Night Football, and I have a chance just to hang out there and zone out and listen to some of the best minds. Talk about the live show real quick before we get into these games. And I know we got a nice little discount coming your way, right?
Yeah. For anybody that hasn't subscribed to our Run Pure Bets website, it's bets25 off is the promo code, and you'll get 25% off the first month. So check that out. And yeah, we'll be live Thursday on the live show, public show for Thursday Night Football. And then obviously all weekend long, big UFC 254 pay-per-view this weekend will be live for subscribers. And then obviously all day Sunday with the NFL. So it should be a lot of fun.
All right, boys, let's get into this. Packers at the Texans. The line right now, 3.5 for the Packers. The total's moved up from 56 to 57. Keg, let's start with you on the betting side here. The Packers looking to bounce back from that embarrassment, just a complete debacle against the Niners. Yeah, you're shaking your head. I'm shaking my head. Lost a lot of money on that one. And on the other side, listen, the Texans are a little bit more competitive under Romeo Cornell, but they're still garbage. So what are we doing here with the Packers? Does that hook scare you?
I got to tell you, man. What a complete shit show Sunday for the Green Bay Packers. I had a good week, but the one play I wanted more than anything, I was the most adamant about all week, was the Green Bay Packers, and I was just dead wrong. And I'm not sure what happened, man. They're cruising up 10-0 with the ball, and in a matter of 3 or 4 plays, they're down 14-10, and then it just rolled downhill from there all game long. Now, what we thought while we were watching the game was that maybe Aaron Rodgers got hurt on that touchdown run, and that may have very well been the case because he took a shot in the back and never looked right or scored another point for the remainder of the game. He was flustered, he was shook, and it was a really bad look for that offense. But with all that said, the Bucs look like a juggernaut of a defense. So I'm going to throw that game out for Green Bay. Downgrade them slightly on my power ratings, but it's really going to have no opinion for this week. The one thing I'll say is their defense looked really bad. They look like a bottom 8 defense. I'm not a fan of that Bucs offense at all. And the Packers D made them look pretty solid. Other side of the ball, for the Texans, the bump in morale has definitely meant something to this team. They've looked much better in the last 2 weeks. They beat the Jags, which doesn't really impress me at all. And they lost the game in overtime this past Sunday against the Titans. Right now, the close loss to the Titans impresses me more than the win. And I'll tell you why. They were down 21-10 at the half against a one-loss team. They could have packed it in easily. and got drubbed at home, but they did not. So they came back. They took a touchdown lead with 2 minutes to go. And unfortunately, you know, the Titans have an insane drive, and then they eventually win the game in overtime. So as far as the spread is concerned, I'm throwing out the bad game by Rodgers, and I feel like the Packers get right back on track here. At 3.5, I lean the Packers. At 3, I'll probably be on the Packers. There's a chance that we might see it go back to 3, but I'm not really sure yet. But even at 3.5, still lean Packers. As far as the total, I lean over, obviously. I think we probably see this Packers offense put up 30 plus here. Rodgers is going to want to get this offense right immediately, and there's almost no better defense to do it against. So I can see them hanging a big number here. But on the Texans side, I expect them to put up points here too. Watson looks much better since O'Brien got the boot. And the team total is pretty telling here. How often do you see a 1-5 football team with a 26.5 team total against a 1-loss team? Not that often. So I think both teams probably score in bunches. And even though the total's high, I think these teams probably squeak over here. Final note, Devontae Adams looked really bad last week, dropping balls, running routes that weren't sharp. I wonder if we see a little value come in on his receiving yards total here. Just some food for thought. But if we see a little value there, it could potentially be worth a play. But that's all I got.
Just real quick before we move on to Mangone on the DFS side, you just hate Tom Brady in the Bucks, because I told you I think they're going to the NFC Championship game at the beginning of the season. You're like, they suck. They're the worst.
You did.
They're okay.
Their defense is really good.
Great.
Really good.
Like, I would put it up there. Like, there's been some chart. You look at some of the charts, like Steelers, Colts, Bucks, all up there at the top.
I'll tell you what, though, I'm still not sold on that offense.
All right. Mr. Mangone, there is some juiciness here, which is why we're talking about this. The total, you picked the games this week. You just saw the total. You said anything over 50, we're going with it. Well, Green Bay has an implied total of 30. Aaron Jones has got to be the chalk, right? This week at running back. Get your thoughts on Rodgers. And I think that Watson's always going to be in play here. He'll probably be a cash game option. What are you looking at here, Mangone?
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to just take all the 50 totals is there's a lot to talk about with this, especially on the DFS side, but even on the bet side, right? You can start making arguments. I talked about it with James Robinson last week. That's kind of getting too high, right? Are these numbers getting too high? Is 57 just too high? I mean, it's a big number, man. I know that there's no crowds and everything, but ultimately, the Packers, what do they like to do? I mean, ultimately, when they're leading the game, they do like to pound the rock a bit, and you can pound the rock here against Houston. I actually kind of, and I know I'm not the bets guy, right? But I kind of lean under more on this game. Call me crazy. Mainly because I think the Packers, I think they're going to handle this game and kind of play a little control with the ball. I'm not too worried about Rodgers just in general being hurt. I was listening to some interviews with him, and he basically said, they were up 10-0 to start the game, and it felt like they looked good. Rodgers basically said on that first drive, he was not happy with that first drive. He said they were not in sync and did not think that they were doing too well. So he said that they were just felt like they were off the entire game. So I just kind of think it was one of those things where they ran good to start the game off, and then it just went really poorly because they were, getting pressured a ton. One thing, I think Rodgers was pressured 33% of the time, and on the season he's been pressured 13% of the time, which that's a pretty big difference. And, it was tough to obviously handle that pressure. And it's a pretty good defense he was going up against. And, he just didn't have a good day. I'm happy to go back to the well with him in, tournaments. You can take the shot, but I lean more on this, run game having a pretty big day. I like Aaron Jones. I do like Devontae Adams still too. Obviously, with there being no Lazard, he can have a big game, like Rodgers as well. It just depends how you think this game is going to go. If you think the Texans are going to be able to put enough pressure on the Packers to, make this thing a shootout, then Rodgers, Adams, it's a great stack to go to. I mean, it's a 30 total, right? Even if they do, let's say they do win 30 to 14, right? Or maybe it's 35 to 14. It's pretty handed win. Rodgers could just throw 2 passes to Devontae Adams in that kind of game. So that stack definitely makes sense. Do think it's worth going back to. And Aaron Jones, I don't know if he'll definitely be the chalk holding. I'm still trying to, obviously it's early in the week, right? You don't know how things are going to shake up. there's a lot of guys in the slate. Ezekiel Elliott, I guess maybe, and I was kind of thinking this before everything happened. I thought that Zeke would probably get decent ownership against Washington, but after the fumble problem, probably not as much. Kamara obviously had to wait and see what's going to happen with Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas I expected to be in, and he's going to be in now. So Aaron Jones, one of those guys who was at the top. You might be right, Holden. Kareem Hunt, who's in the same range. I'm sure we'll talk about that game. He's going to be a guy definitely to talk about once we get to the Bengals side. But ultimately, those Packers are going to want to get some exposure in your cash games and tournaments. On the flip side with the Texans, how do we approach them here? I don't want to play like David Johnson or Duke Johnson. I think going like a Deshaun Watson, Will Fuller stack, or maybe not Will Fuller. Maybe the move is going back to Cooks or even Cobb. Yeah, and one thing to mention about Cobb. So this is what I think about this a lot with some of these older receivers when they've seen a coverage for a while, right? Like, for instance, Cobb, he was a Packer before, right? So he kind of understands the defense, right? So he might know where there's some holes and some things that other guys might not just see, right? It's just one of those things that he might just be able to understand. I don't hate the idea of going to Randall Cobb here or even a Brandon Cooks. I think they might be better plays, mainly because I think Fuller, he's going to have to deal with Alexander, and Jair is pretty good. So I would definitely have more interest in maybe doing like a Watson stack with Cooks or Cobb, and then running it with Aaron Jones. I think that's like the game stack I'm thinking of in my head right now.
Well, look, Cooks has 21 targets, 17 catches, and he's caught a touchdown each of the last 2 weeks. Okay. He also went for 161, and last week he went for 68. So, as I was doing the show with the old guys last night, the Wishbone Pod with Uncle T and G Risen, I'm sitting here going, maybe I pair him with Fuller. Maybe if there's only one tight end, I'll go with the tight end. Then they start bringing up Cooks. I'm going, holy moly, this guy has just been amazing the last 2 weeks. So we're expecting a lot of points here, boys, right? Yeah.
Yeah, should be a decent amount of points. Jay, do you agree with me that Packers might play a little like ball control, like and just really pound the ball towards the end of the game?
Yeah, definitely. And just your broader point, I mean, the totals are up 5.5 points from week one in terms of what the line is being set by the books. Eventually, they're going to jump the shark. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but it's really hard to just automatically take an over 57. Like every team in the league is going to put up 60. I mean, it feels like it's starting to get out of control, but I mean, some of these scores are absurd. So, but yeah, I do agree. I do agree.
So fascinating. 50. That is a big number, but
it's a large number, man. Like, it's just so big. I could not, if you told me I had to bet a side, I'm betting the under, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to run your book and bet this. Certainly you can just stay away if you want.
You definitely don't. Yeah. Just don't run to your book right now and bet this just because the number is 57, although who knows, maybe it goes up at this point. Okay. Like this video, likes, subscribe also. That'd be very nice. Will help us continue to eat. That would be wonderful. Breathe, have shelter. Please do so. It'll be wonderful. Steelers Titans. Like I said, this is my game right here, boys. This may not be a great DFS spot. Maybe you guys think there is a good DFS spot, but as far as viewing and just overall interest, this is the game for me. Two terrific teams. Pittsburgh is 1.5 to 2 point favorites, depending on where you shop. The total is sitting at 51.5. I think that's down from 52.5, isn't it? Has that total dropped this week, or was that more? Yeah,
it's down a point, I think. Yep.
Wow. So what do you think? Start with the total then. What do you think of the total?
Well, I think the Steelers were one of the wins that the Run Pure Bets team had on the sheet last week, and we're all really high on the Steelers team. I think they're probably most complete team in the league right now. The offense is a machine, and even though there have been times that I didn't like the defense this year, they were still second in DVOA going into Sunday. They absolutely destroyed the Browns last week in every way, but there are a couple things worth mentioning. Number one, the defense takes a hit. They lose Devin Bush for the year. That's unfortunate. And despite the fact that they won by 31 points, they only averaged 4.5 yards per play, which really isn't that good, especially against the Cleveland Browns, okay? On the other side, the offense was really humming on Sunday for the Titans. They averaged almost a first down per play, 8.6 yards, man. But it was against one of the worst defenses in football. But even still, I've been impressed with the offense for weeks. The problem that the Titans had on Sunday was really, really subpar play from their defense. They gave up a lot of yards per play to the Texans on Sunday. And if they do that on Sunday, they're going to lose, man, because the Steelers don't have the 27th rate defense. They have a top 3 defense. So I have a play on the sheet already in this game that I love. So I'm obviously not going to give it out. Could be a total derivative side, whatever. All I'll say is that as far as the spread is concerned, lean Steelers. I think the public is going to be all over the Titans in this game. They're 5-0 team. They're home. They just averaged almost a first down per play on offense. And my gut says that Joe Public is going to see what the Titans have done the last couple of weeks and back them at home. Now, you know, the players that really move the lines are not the public. And we've seen the Steelers go from -1 to even as high as -2.5 in some spots. And it's only Wednesday. So smart money can be coming in on Pittsburgh. Might be a little too early to tell, but it feels that way. As far as the total, I think that everybody is expecting a shootout here, but I don't know. I feel like it could go the other way, man. Pittsburgh's defense is top notch. So I think at least one side of the ball, we're going to see some really nice defensive play. Now, can the Titans match that? They're not even a top 20 defense. Maybe not. But with this number of 52, I think I have a slight lean to the under here, but it's a really ballsy play to even think about taking an under in this game when you think about how good both these offenses have looked. But I'm going to have a slight lean to the under.
You know, man, when I was looking at this, and I think that the public personally is going to be torn on this, whether or not this is going to be a high scoring game or a low scoring game. Because you look at the Pittsburgh defense, it's amazing. But this Tennessee offense is vastly underrated, in my opinion. I mean, Tannehill's throwing for at least 2 touchdowns every game. They got Derrick Henry, who's almost matchup proof at this point. Who's stopping A.J. Brown? You tell me who's stopping A.J. Brown. If Jonnu's healthy, look at all the weapons that they have there. I don't think their offensive line is spectacular. When you go into this game, Mangone, do you see this as a DFS, maybe a leverage game, or maybe there's a one-off here and there?
I mean, in the words of Lee Corso, like, not so fast, my friend. Like, Taylor Lewan is out. Is that offensive line any good anymore? Like,
you know what? Lewan is out. Yeah.
Like, that is massive news. Like, that is
right.
We don't want to talk about it because Taylor Lewan, he's not in there, celebrating in the end zone. He's not a guy that puts up 20 touchdowns a year. Like, no one doesn't know who Taylor Lewan is. Like, he's a really good offensive lineman. Like,
he's great.
Whoever Taylor Lewan's replacement is, that might be stopping A.J. Brown from getting a deep ball for 40 yards to score a touchdown. Like, I just have some concerns there. I don't know exactly how to bake it in with DFS, right? I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to think through, is this offensive line, how is it going to perform? If the offensive line is worse, then that means the Titans are likely to be trailing more. If you run the outcomes like 100 times, the Titans are probably down more. I think the Steelers are probably the better bet. I really think the Steelers, if you told me betting wise, I'd want to be on them, I think, instead of going with the other side with the Titans. Titans, it feels like they've overperformed too, right? Like, I get it. Sure, I don't want to disrespect Tennessee. They've been incredible. They've been amazing. But part of the problem here is, again, you lost Jack Conklin in the offseason. Now you lost Taylor Lewan. How many more can they lose? It can be a disaster at some point. It's could have been the last guy they could have afforded to lose. And now it could be a problem, especially with offensive lines, right? It's a lot of synergy. It's a lot of just playing next to the guy that you played it next to, knowing what he's going to do. There's just a lot of that stuff that I don't think is even being factored in right now. That's so massive.
I think, listen, Lewan is a huge loss, but this is still a very, very good offensive line. Very good. And we've seen that with them open up holes for Henry, and Tannehill has had time, but we are talking about the most important position on the offensive line now.
Yeah. And it's not the three of us aren't in, a 3-4 and rushing the passer. It's not us three. It's actually a good guys rushing it, right? The Steelers don't have a bad defensive line. So that's the thing. I would definitely factor in. It's a good defense. Again, I like the Steelers. I think they're a pretty good team. They impressed me a lot last week. Not that I was down on the Pittsburgh Steelers last week, but I was more trying to consider, I thought the Browns were a lot better. And I was like, I want to see how this like kind of goes down. And they really, beat up on the Browns. I do think Baker Mayfield was a bit banged up, and that factored into some things, but ultimately we got to talk about DFS more on that side. I don't know exactly how to handle it. Like a lot of these guys are priced up. Henry, again, offensive line play, I didn't like that. The offensive line injuries, I didn't like that happening. AJ Brown, his price is going up, and Corey Davis is back, right? The reason we were playing Corey Davis or AJ Brown the past couple weeks because there was no Corey Davis. That was very massive news. The reason we played Corey Davis, what was it, like 5 weeks ago, is because AJ Brown was out. Now we have all the guys are back, right? It just depends how that's all going to shake up. If Janu Smith happens to be out, you can make cases for Anthony Ferguson being a really good punt tight end. But ultimately, I think some of these guys, they're getting priced too high for my liking, and now they're in a difficult matchup, and there's more guys being added back. It seems like the value is kind of gone here on Tennessee players in DFS.
So real quick, I have a question for you on the Pittsburgh side just to get it going. If Deontay Johnson is back, what do you do with him, and what are you doing with Claypool?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. And man, I am absolutely torn on how to handle this situation because listen, Deontay Johnson looked incredible. Clearly, they have to play Chase Claypool more. Are they just going to mix and match those two guys on like in those routes, and they're going to cut into each other, or is it going to cut into Juju, or is it going to cut into James Washington? I'm not exactly sure. This is definitely something like I think I'm going to have to like research more throughout the week to try and figure out. But in tournaments, like you can't ignore Deontay Johnson's price tag, right? I mean, let's just look on DraftKings. He is 4.2K. If I told you 2 weeks ago, Holden, Deontay Johnson was 4.2K, you would just take out a loan to play DFS. Like you'd be like, I just want to take all the money out and just fire it in on Deontay Johnson. There's no way it doesn't work here. So yeah, I think you have to love Deontay Johnson as a really good play. But you have to also stay tuned and like read up on the reports. Like what are they doing in practice? Kind of see. You got to dig for some information from the beat writers. That's what I'm going to really try and do this week to try and figure that out. And if I find anything good, I'll post it in the Run Pure Sports Discord chat. But that's the main thing I'm looking at. I'm not a real big James Conner guy. I'm really just kind of keying in on these receivers. And this isn't the greatest DFS game, but from a betting side and just like a watching for fun, it's going to be good.
I feel like there's going to be a couple guys that just completely go off in this game. Somebody from the Pittsburgh passing game is going to go off. Somebody. And if Tannehill has to play catch up, then that means somebody on the Pittsburgh side. It's really interesting. Hey, Keg, 51.5 is the total. Pittsburgh's at 1 point favorite. But like if you set the total in this game, and you already mentioned your lean here, where would you set the total?
I probably
50.5
would have set it at, probably an even 50.
50?
Don't you think that 70% of the public is going to be on the over in this game?
Yes.
It's a reasonable total compared to what you see out there this week. And both these offenses put up 30, 28 like it's nothing every week. And I don't know. I just feel like this is going to be an old school type of game. So I think the total's a little high.
Yeah, well, last thing I want to mention too on the Titans side, right? Like Derrick Henry was amazing last week. I was someone that was like, I'm concerned about Derrick Henry. I was concerned about his snaps compared to McNichols, right? I thought that could be a problem.
Man, he is ridiculous.
He is really good, man. It's incredible to watch him. And when they lean on him, I mean, he's so good. But I get worried about McNichols. And the reason why is if the Titans have a bad game script, right? If they are going to be in a spot where they are trailing. The problem I have here with a guy like Derrick Henry is he is naturally going to lose snaps. If you look last week or the last 2 weeks, I'll give you. I got him right here. We got Derrick Henry's snap count was 34 to 26 on McNichols, and then Evans got 5. And then the last week that they just played, he had 45 snaps and McNichols had 29 snaps. Like that's more snaps than you want, McNichols getting. It's just a fact. Like that is something that is concerning in DFS. You have to have some worries about it. And it's not just like, this random thing that they're doing. Like Mike Vrabel talked about how McNichols is a really good pass blocker and how that's been like really big for them. He definitely noted that. And again, I talked about the offensive line play maybe being a little bit of a problem. If that's going to be a problem, you want to have your guy that you want to pass block in there in McNichols. So
that's a fair point. And that was in a game that they were fighting for their life in the second half.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, like, man, his Derrick Henry's under might be really interesting here. I'm not someone that typically likes to, bet some of these unders against some of these guys that are just absolute monsters. But after rushing for 200 yards, and it's normally an aggregate number, and like the public loves to smash, the props, and sometimes they love to smash, guys like Derrick Henry after a big game. The under could be enticing. Definitely something I'm going to be monitoring.
If you were going to pick a front seven, right, to stop Derrick Henry, I can only think of one front seven other than Pittsburgh that I'd rather have, and that's probably the Bucs.
Yeah, I was going to say the Bucs is the one I would want for
sure. Yeah. But after that, it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's a good front seven for sure. But yeah, that's definitely something to monitor for sure.
Okay, guys, let's move on to the Lions and the Falcons. Two garbage teams. One team has a garbage head coach. The other team fired their garbage head coach. So that's where we're sitting. And I'd like to remind you, just hit the like button down there. It's very easy. Just hit the like button. Subscribe to the Run Pure Bets side and the Run Pure Sports side here on YouTube too. So Detroit, 2.5-point dogs on the road at Atlanta. How about Atlanta being a favorite here? And 56.5 is the total. Now you put a play on the sheet.
I did.
Right. And don't say that, because this is just for subscribers only. And that gives you a chance to use the code. What was the code again for the 25%?
Bets 25 off, I think.
Okay, good. We'll go with that. And if it doesn't work, just hit Keg up on Twitter.
If it doesn't work, DM me on Twitter.
Yeah.
This game gets my blood flowing, bro. You know what? You look at the Lions, you look at the Falcons, you're like, oh, really? I'm excited about this game. I think there's a spot to make money in this game. Mm-hmm. Listen, Falcons finally got their first win of the year last week, right? And it means absolutely nothing. I mean, still a really bad football team with an absolutely dreadful defense. They're actually all the way around bad. Like neither a top 20 offense, neither a top 20 defense. I liked the Vikings last week, but I didn't bet them. Okay. A broken clock is right twice a day, man. And it just felt like if the Falcons were going to eventually win a football game, looking back on it, last week was as good a week as any. But looking at the numbers, and I was in the group chat, the Run Pure Bets group chat last night talking about this game, I'm amazed that the Falcons won that game. They gave up 7.5 yards per play and won the game somehow. 3 turnovers by the Vikings, and that's all she wrote. But the Falcons played terrible, really bad. JJ on our live betting show on Sunday took the Vikings plus 14.5 live. I can't, looking back on it, digging into the numbers, I can't believe that didn't cash, man. Now, the Lions, my thoughts on the Lions are they are a slightly below average football team. They're probably going to lose to most of the upper echelon teams in this league, and they're probably going to beat up on the basement dwellers. They're probably somewhere around the middle of the road team. The one thing that we know about this team, though, down the stretch in the second half, when the game is in Matt Patricia's hands, this team shits the bed more often than not, right? It's the main reason why their first half full game splits are so different. They exceed expectations in the first half, and they don't exceed their expectations in the second half. So I have a play on the game that's up on the spreadsheet, Holden said. So all I'll say is, as far as the spread is concerned, I lean Lions plus 2.5 here. And I like the Lions if it gets to plus 3. As far as the total is concerned, I have no interest in trying to go over 57 in a game between the Lions and the Falcons, man.
Yep.
So I guess I'm going to say I lean under here, but how can you feel that good about it with two below average defenses, but still nevertheless lean under here. And that's all I got.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. I'm looking over at the Detroit side. Mangone, before we get into anybody, what's your take on DeAndre Swift this week? 5.4 on DK. You look over there on FanDuel, he's at 6.1. He had 18 touches, actually 17 touches last week, found the end zone twice. Is he taking this backfield over, or is Peterson still going to run back there?
Well, we have to compare, right? So you told me what, was it 17 touches for Swift? What was the number again, Holden?
17.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm looking here. Adrian Peterson got himself what? He got 16 touches. So again, kind of a 50-50 share between at least the two of them, right? That's a concern for me. I don't feel like I'm getting a bell cow in DeAndre Swift. That can be one of the concerns. In cash games, it's a little bit tougher. Tournaments, I understand it. I get it. I think he makes some sense. But Matt Patricia, he is a donkey, right? He's one of those guys in the league that is just an absolute moron. And he is down to, if they're losing, let's say they're down by 10, right? Would you be surprised if Jay is screaming at the TV going, why is Adrian Peterson running the ball? Like, they're down like with 8 minutes left. Like why are we running the ball with Adrian? It doesn't make any sense. Like, he just does dumb things like that. So there is some risk to playing a DeAndre Swift. I think he makes sense in tournaments, but cash games, no way. Cannot touch it. I don't hate this game. The problem is, like, do I want to play one of these quarterbacks in cash games? No. I think tournaments, it can make some sense. If you're going to play them, you need to probably pair them up with at least one of the receivers and run it back with a guy. So you do like a Stafford to Galladay and run it back with like a Ridley or a Julio, whichever one you think is going to be lower owned. You can obviously go with some of these other guys too. You can go with a Hawkinson. You can go with a Marvin Jones. There's a lot of routes you can go. One fear that I really have with this game, and one reason to like the under, I don't think people realize how much this Falcons team is playing so slow. If you watched them last week, what was the time of possession? Do you guys know? I looked it up. Can you take a guess? I'll ask Jay. What do you think the time of possession was for the Falcons last week in the game?
35 minutes.
I was going 36.
40 minutes, guys.
What?
40 minutes they had the ball. And it's because they when they're up, they just want to grind it out. And who's a team you can grind it out against? It's the Detroit Lions.
That's a great point. How we have all said on multiple times this year, I mean, this team's down 20, and it's like they're strolling down the park on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, this under feels so, I don't want to say so good, but I don't know. I have some interest in the under. I'd say that. It just seems lame. It's like, we're really going to give a 56.5 to the Falcons and Lions. Like, what's going on here? I know it's in a dome. I get it, but the way the Falcons have been playing, it's definitely concerning. I could totally see that. And another thing to mention too, like with last week's game, what did they get? It got to 63. I think the score was 40 to 23. But Kirk Cousins threw a lot of picks, right? And that caused that game to go to where Kirk Cousins just started chucking deep balls like a maniac. And it also caused those picks to lead to easy touchdowns for the Falcons, which, again, that's something that isn't normal, right? A 0 touchdown for 3 interception first half isn't a normal thing, which may have heightened the number last week, which, again, I kind of think I would, one, lean under on this game. And then two, in DFS, like, I have some concerns about this game because I just think it could play a little slow. And again, it's a really good week. The one thing I want to just kind of hammer home from a DFS perspective and why I picked all these 50 totals. We have right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 totals, 6 totals above 50. And another one's a 49.5. Like, you don't have to game stack this game up, right? There's other games that are going to likely get there. Now, last week, you didn't see that as much. You saw a lot of those games kind of bust, and that's obviously something you had to play the Titans-Texans game if you wanted to win all the money in DFS last week. That was definitely the move to go with. But I do think that there's a lot of different opportunities here in games to go to that have above 50 totals. It's not like the Lions and Falcons are the only game above 50 on this slate.
Okay. Julio Jones, we go back to Julio. What do we do?
Yeah. Ooh. Is he going to be owned? That's the thing, right? It's always ownership with Julio.
Is he? I don't know. Galladay kind of like there's some possible just guys going off, right? Yeah. Galladay being one of them.
Galladay's the one, man. I like him.
Love him.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite in this game, I would say. Mainly because I do think that Galladay, he's the one that really is like the guy that moves this offense, right? Like when Galladay's out, the offense struggles. When he's in, it changes it up a ton. So I like Galladay. And again, one of the reasons I didn't play Galladay in cash last week. I know some people did. I thought he was a good play, but I had concerns. And my concern last week was I thought there were lots of routes where maybe he didn't get there as much, right? And yeah, did Kenny Galladay get there? Of course. But he got there on 6 targets and 4 receptions and 105 yards on 4 receptions. That's a bit of an outlier. Yes, could he have had that one touchdown that he got stopped at the 2 on that slant? Yes, but the guy did make a good tackle. And again, you're throwing a 5-yard slant route, right? You can't expect to get 9 yards always on a 5-yard slant route. So Galladay, I think he's a really great play, mainly because if you think this game, I talked about playing slow, but if you do think that the Falcons and Lions kind of shoot back and forth and it doesn't become that kind of style game, if you think that, you want to play Kenny Galladay. Like, you got to play Kenny Galladay if you think that's going to happen. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I feel like he's got to be like right up there in the core for at least cash, right? So he's 6'7" on FanDuel, and he's 7'6" on FanDuel, 6'7" on DraftKings. So love him. Absolutely love him. Let's move on to the Seattle, Arizona game, guys. And again, hit the like button, subscribe. That would be wonderful. Go to Run Pure Bets, put in Jay's code, or just dip your toe in for $20 a week. I mean, good God, we're all making money on that side. Seattle at Arizona. So let's get into this. This is absolutely nuts. You got Seattle with a 29-point total and Arizona with a 27-point total. Like, we're all expecting a whole bunch of points. This line went from 2.5 to 3.5. You're finding just about everywhere at 3.5. I think DraftKings actually dropped this to 3 minus 15. So that's something to look at if you wanted to, get the hook out of the way. The total here is 56. Hey, Jay, real quick, I want to get your thoughts. Like, you're taking 3 minus 15 over 3.5 minus 10 any day, correct?
Yeah. When you're laying, 100%.
100%. So that's an interesting thing right there. If you can find 3 instead, the total, the sides, this should be a shootout, correct? Although I will just bring this up. I was looking at Russell Wilson, and you can do with this what you want. Maybe it's just arbitrary, but he has not been good. His last 4 games against Arizona, he's averaging 10.5 points per game. So think about that, Mangone, when we get to the DFS side. But is this just the shootout that hits the over like everybody's thinking?
I mean, God, these totals this year, man, give me heartburn. The last time the last time we saw the Seattle team, 2 4th down conversions on the final drive of the game, under 2 minutes left. They grabbed the come from behind win against the Vikings. And, this Seattle team appears to be the 2020 NFL season in a nutshell. Great offensive play and bad defensive play, right? There are so many teams in this league this year that you can put in that mold. The only difference is those other teams don't have the league MVP as their quarterback, right? So I'll take Russ over anyone when you need points late in the game. But with that said, the Seattle defense was gashed by the Vikings defense that night. They have a lot of work to do on the defensive side of the ball before I would consider this team a true contender for the chip, because that defense is really that bad. On the other side, last night, man.
Let me just bring something else up real quick.
Go ahead.
Just because, I mean, defensively, this is a team that kind of has stepped it up the last 2 weeks. I think they're getting a little bit healthier. When we just look at Seattle and go, gosh, they stink. They're 29th against the pass and DVOA. Last couple of weeks, what was it? 282 for Fitz and Cousins. No. It was 376 for Fitz, and then Cousins got held down a little bit. They are getting healthy, but we're not worried about that, right?
No, not really. And if we're being honest, the only reasons why Cousins got held down is because Dalvin Cook destroyed them in the first half, and then Madison took it over in the second half of that game, right? They were really run heavy in that game. So now what we saw last night, bro, the Cardinals, or I'm sorry, Monday night, the Cardinals have benefited from a really bad schedule. The Jets, Washington, and the Cowboys are 3 of their 4 wins this year. So I cannot take them seriously yet. That game that we saw on Monday night was an absolute joke. The Cardinals didn't play well in that game at all. If not for, you were with me, if not for Murray using his legs time after time to get 3rd down conversions, I mean, they wouldn't have come close to that score. So I really don't give them credit for that win, because the Dallas Cowboys might be as bad as the New York Jets with Andy Dalton at quarterback. So, watch that game last night and tell me that Dak doesn't deserve a monster contract.
He does, but at least they have weapons. The Jets don't have weapons like the Cowboys. Come on.
Okay, but in this league, they have equally bad defenses and two quarterbacks that can't throw the ball. Andy Dalton looked like a high school quarterback on Monday night.
I don't think Dalton was as bad as you're saying. Like, I don't want to.
He was overthrowing the flat by 5 yards.
I'm not trying to say Andy Dalton's good by any means, but like, I'm not putting that L on him. I'll say that, right? Like, there's other people to blame first. If we're gonna play the blame game, let's point at others. Let's point at Zeke. Let's point at some bad offensive line.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. All I'm saying is that Andy Dalton's much more than a 3-point downgrade to Dak Prescott than what I thought going into the game. So as far as the spread is concerned, I lean Seattle, man. The Cardinals offense and defensive DVOA is in the top 12 in offense and defense, but I think it's completely fugazi based on the teams that they've played. So I feel better about Seattle. I think they probably score on most drives in that game, and I'll trust them to make at least a couple stops in that game to get the win there. Probably wouldn't lay the 3.5. Holden just said you can get a 3 at -115. That would probably be my starting point, and I would be hoping that throughout the week, maybe it dips down to 2.5, and you see that closer to Sunday. If it does dip down to 2.5, that's probably worth the play for sure. At 3, I lean the Hawks. The total somewhere around 57. Total pass for me, man. I'm not betting an under with these two defenses, and I also don't feel like wanting to have both these teams score 60 to get my over. So again, total complete pass for me.
Hey, Mangone, rank these wide receivers for DFS, and I guess you got to take price into it a little bit, but Hopkins, Metcalf, Lockett. Up top, the top shelf guys. I think Kirk is going to get some ownership this week, no doubt about it. But Hopkins, Metcalf, Lockett, how are you attacking those three guys? Because they're going to be popular, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, price definitely matters. And I would go Lockett. I definitely go Lockett as my as my one, I'd say, mainly because of point per dollar. You can make Hopkins too. And the reason to make Hopkins too, I would say, is so if you look at the Cardinals, right? And everyone's like, oh, well, like, Christian Kirk did well. Hopkins was terrible last week. Well, like, here's the thing. When a game is just that easy, you don't lean on DeAndre Hopkins, right? You don't need to. So it's just not going to happen. It's clearly just if-then statements. If the Cowboys have a really good game and put up 30 points, then DeAndre Hopkins did really well, right? Because then Murray leaned on him more than likely. Drake isn't out there rushing for, 70-yard runs out of nowhere. So ultimately, that's the way I look at it. I think Hopkins, Lockett, and pairing it up with either Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray makes a ton of sense. I mean, Kyler Murray has not finished below QB10 all year long. I mean, Kyler Murray's been really good. Russell Wilson's been incredible as well. Either one of these quarterbacks, they're like kind of ones I'm looking at maybe trying to make my cash game quarterback right now. Main reason why is I think this is going to be a great back and forth game. I don't respect this Cardinals defense. I don't respect this Seattle secondary. And ultimately, I think like one problem I feel like I made a mistake with, I don't know if it was a mistake last week, right? But my concern with playing Ryan Fitzpatrick last week was I don't know if the Jets had enough firepower. Unlike Jay, who thinks the Jets can, keep up with those Cowboys, the Jets offense cannot, and I mean cannot, put up enough points to put the pressure on you, where ultimately Ryan Fitzpatrick just handed the ball off in the second half. Ryan Tannehill, on the other hand, there's a guy like Deshaun Watson on the opposite side. You know what he's doing? He's applying pressure on you. And you know who's going to apply pressure on Russell Wilson? Kyler Murray. Who's going to apply pressure on Kyler Murray? Russell Wilson. And they're just going to kind of eat off each other and have some pretty big games. So I love those two quarterbacks. I also like the stacks. Obviously, the running games could be really interesting. I am curious because it's a 56 total. I think it's a game that gains a lot of ownership. And if it does gain ownership, I think the ownership is on the receivers. And if it's on the receivers, then we can talk about Carson and we can also talk about Drake. I get it. I get it, Holden. It's uncomfortable.
I love Chris Carson. I just want to let you know, this is the problem with your take right now. You brought up Chris Carson first. Like, I love him so much. You bring up Kenyon Drake, he looks even crappier. But
Kenyon Drake's played on 67% of the Cardinals snaps. I mean, that's still a good amount, right? That's still in the top 10 for running backs. So I do think that a guy like Kenyon Drake is still certainly in play. I know it sounds crazy. It might sound gross. I don't know if there's going to be ownership on him. I don't want to play him as much, but I lean Carson as being the best leverage running back here.
Well, I mean, Drake is 4.8 on DraftKings. He's nothing. He's 6K on FanDuel, not very much, but I mean, that price on DraftKings, how can you, if you think that Drake has any shot at having a big game here, boom, he's there.
Yeah,
and Chase Edmonds, though. What about Chase Edmonds? Because he's the passing down back.
Yeah, he got the what's it called? The bump. It's like the Monday Night Football bump, where you don't get kind of the pricing is already out, so
right.
It obviously is like a price from the week before, so you're kind of getting a discount there. Yeah, you bring up good points with Edmonds. I would have to look and see like what Edmonds did last week. Obviously, the script wasn't for him, right? And in the past, you saw Edmonds, I think, at 26% of the slot work, on the season. So he's a guy that he is involved in the pass game. One thing I actually read up on Edmonds a little bit, because I was, whenever I do these Monday Night Football showdown slates, I have more time to dig deeper into a team and situations. And I was just digging in on Chase Edmonds, doing some Twitter searches, and he talked about he's like replicating all of Kamara's like off-season drills that he's doing, or not drills, workouts, all those things where he kind of like goes off balance and has these weights. He's trying all that stuff out. He's basically saying, hey, this works for Alvin Kamara, I'm gonna make this work for me. And he's trying to get better, and it's clear he's gotten better. So obviously that's something that's encouraging. And I think you're making good points about Chase Edmonds as an interesting guy to maybe include in like his stack with the Cardinals in Seattle.
I mean, let me just say this clear. I don't like Edmonds, but there is the possibility where he just blows up for 20 points because game script, Drake, they take Drake out and they just dump the ball down to them. Did he have like 21 DK points or 20.9 a couple weeks ago? So he has it in him, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, Holden, touting 101. You just got to say what you said, and then we go back and we clip what you said, and you sound super intelligent. If not, we forget it. It never happened. You never said it. That's how it works.
I hope nobody listened to me about anything last week, but as Big T says, winners win. You got to bounce right back. Get back up on the horse. Stop crying about last week. Like this video. Subscribe to Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets on that side. We'll tell you about a couple of the shows that are going to be out there for you. Keg, Panthers, Saints. So everybody says that Drew Brees is washed. And, I would tend to agree with them. But New Orleans has a total of about 30 here. And while it's not official, it looks like Mike Thomas is coming back because Sean Payton came out and said they're not going to punish him any more than they already did. Saints 7 and a hook, and the total here is 51. Nothing really moved here except for what they added that hook on New Orleans this week, didn't they? That's where it went.
I think it opened at 6.5.
Really?
Yeah, and now 7.5. Just to start with the Panthers side. That team, we did actually really good last Wednesday on the show in terms of like in which direction to send people. But this Panthers team made me really annoyed on Sunday, man, because I said on our show last week, the Bears-Panthers line's wrong. The wrong team's favored. Bears should be -2.5, not +2.5. I thought about it all week. And then I said to myself, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not as high as I should be on this Panthers team. I'm lower in the marketplace. I second-guessed myself. I avoid the game entirely, and I shouldn't have, right? They lose the game by a touchdown, and, the rest is history. So the offense really struggled against an above-average defense last week against the Bears. They had 3 turnovers. Bridgewater, 2 interceptions. He loses a fumble. I think he lost a fumble. Could have been somebody else. But the defense didn't play that bad. I guess it depends on what you think about the Bears offense, but the defense only gave up 4 yards per play, which is really solid in a 2020 NFL. Obviously, as far on the other side, Saints had the bye last week. Last time we saw them, they come from behind to beat the Chargers. Now, they didn't play last week, but going into last week, the analytics love this team. For all the talk about Drew Brees and his noodle arm and he's washed, they're one of the few teams that are a top 10 team in both offensive and defensive DVOA. So they're playing better than the eye test. And that's without Michael Thomas the last few weeks. Now they get Thomas back, who is one of 4 people worth a solid 1.5 to the spread that's not a quarterback. How will him being back in the starting 11 translate into the game is the question. At 7.5, I guess I have to lean the Panthers here. Do I feel great about it? Not really, because Thomas is back. But even still, I just don't want to lay more than a touchdown right now with the New Orleans Saints. As far as the total, 51 seems attainable to me, especially compared to the numbers that we're seeing this year. I'll probably pass on the total, but if I lean over, and I guess I'll lean, because the line is 7.5, I'll lean the Panthers.
Hey, Mangone. So everyone laughs at me when I say Drew Brees this week. 6-1 on DraftKings. He's 7-7 on FanDuel. So his last 2 home games, and who cares if his arm's falling off? He's getting Mike Thomas back. He's got 23.5 DK points. He's got 22 DK points. I mean, that's more than serviceable. Now he gets his guy back going up against the Panthers. You're not going to do it, are you? You can't hold your breath and start Drew Brees in DFS, can you?
Yeah, I mean, not in your cash games, right?
No, not cash.
In tournaments, it's not the worst idea in the world. So why does I'm asking a question because I have an answer, but why is Drew Brees have a noodle arm? Why is he not good anymore? What's the reason for it?
Because he's old. He had reconstructive shoulder surgery, and it's starting to show up now.
Well, why is it showing up?
Because he's old.
No, I guess it's like there's this narrative that he can't push it down the field, and I'll admit, like, I don't know the exact answer on it, but has he had Michael Thomas really this season?
No.
Not really. So why do we think that it's not just, okay, well, they've been playing more 2 tight end sets and they've been doing more jumbo packages and trying to run the ball and trying to get Alvin Kamara open in space? Do you throw Alvin Kamara a 40-yard pass downfield? No, you don't do that. There's not enough time for Drew Brees to scramble. Do they have Emmanuel Sanders and Traquan Smith? Sure. But one thing I read up on that situation, again, Saints have been on a lot of showdown slates. I read up that Emmanuel Sanders said early in the season, he was like, I wasn't comfortable in this like offense completely. He said, I knew like about 85% of it. He said, I felt pretty good, but he said like the little things of like trying to understand where Drew wants him to be, right? Understand like where, when Drew throws a ball, like where to go, basically. It's those little things are just having a connection with the player. And if Drew Brees throws a deep ball and it like misses to Emmanuel Sanders, you might just think it's like, oh, well, he's totally washed, but that might not be the case. There could be a miscommunication there. I just think we're overreacting too much. I want to see what this offense looks like with Michael Thomas. That's what I want to see. I still think this offense could be really efficient with Michael Thomas. On top of that, let's say the offense is more efficient with Michael Thomas. Let's say that they're on the field longer and they're able to give the defense more of a break. Maybe you see that defense be a little bit improved. There's just things we haven't seen the complete Saints team. And I want to see that complete Saints team. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a complete Saints team really put up a lot of points against the Panthers this week.
Well, I'm not going to say that Brees is not an option still when he's at home, especially against a defense like this. I will say, though, that longest completed air yards, right? So this is the guys that go downfield. Longest completed air yards this season, cumulatively, there's only 3 guys that are starting right now in the NFL that are worse. Foles, Darnold, Garoppolo. So he's at the bottom. But what your idea is, hey, maybe he starts pushing it down the field more now. He's got the big man.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, like, Payton's not an idiot, right? He knows how to, like, actually, like, run an offense.
I don't know. He keeps playing Taysom Hill. He is a genius. But come on, can we stop with the Taysom Hill already? Every week.
Let me ask you this: would you guys lay more than a touchdown in this game?
No.
Yeah, me.
I don't know if I'd lay a touchdown. I will say it's obviously having Mike Davis there. Obviously, you'd rather Christian McCaffrey, but Teddy Bridgewater, here's like the interesting part of it, right? This is a bit of a revenge game in a way, right? He played there. Does the defense know Bridgewater better? He was a backup that played against that defense probably a little bit.
That's fair.
There's that like little like thing in there that we don't have the answer to. Like, does the defense know tips on Bridgewater that could take one to the house and totally alter the game? Does Bridgewater know how to eat up this defense a little bit? I don't have the answer for you. But what I'm trying to say is there's like these little things in there that make this game a little different that I think you could see this game, go more lopsided one way or the other. There's routes where I think that can happen. And if Bridgewater does not take advantage of this team, like, sign me up for more Robbie Anderson. Dude's been absolutely getting a ton of targets and beasting it up like him. Mike Davis on the DFS side. Like, listen, I think he's in play again, but he's not the play that he's been in the past, and not because he busted, right? I think it's more so because of some of the other plays, and the prices started to normalize to a price where I'm a little concerned. Alvin Kamara's price is really high, and with Michael Thomas coming back, it's similar to the Titans situation. What happens is now we have Michael Thomas here. That's going to hurt Alvin Kamara. Price has gone up for what's been going on. I'm more out on him, I think, in this scenario compared to some of these other running backs, unless there's huge amounts of value and I can just get up to Alvin Kamara and just play him.
What are the chances that Latavius Murray falls in the end zone 2 times like he did 2 weeks ago?
It's always in play, man, but Taysom Hill's always lurking too, so watch out there.
I can't stand anybody else in this game you want to talk about here? You already brought up Kamara and Davis. Wide receivers, you love it, Anderson. Like, what do you need to see before you plug Michael Thomas in there at 7.6 on DK, and then on FanDuel, he's coming in at 8.6?
Yeah, I'm not plugging him in cash games, I don't think, but in tournaments, like, what's the percentage that gets me excited? Is it 2%? Is it 5%? It's relative to what we're looking at with the field, right? Let's say Alvin Kamara is 50% owned. Again, he probably won't be, but it's just for the exercise. And let's say Michael Thomas is 5% owned. I mean, is there that much of a, like, is Alvin Kamara really going to outperform Michael Thomas like that many more times than at a 5% ownership and a 50% ownership? No, that's not going to happen. So it really depends on ownership with tournaments. And if a guy like Kamara gets high owned, then Michael Thomas becomes a great leverage play. It's a Wednesday, ownership's not out. We don't have all the news. So it's hard to really give you the plays that I like as leverage plays. I'll do that on the GVP show, off the chalk show that I do with AP. We do that Saturdays. It's a premium show, and we talk about some of the best leverage spots and some of the best chalk to eat. But we need that ownership percentage to do it, but it's something to talk about and mention.
Hey, Keg, you know how I know Mangone's just screwing around when you're talking?
No.
This is Wednesday. It's a very busy day for me. So on Twitter at Holden Radio, I just keep pumping out all these stories.
Wednesday's a fake. That's not the best news day. It's Friday.
It's a great news day. Odell Beckham says he can't get COVID because his body is so good. Lamar Jackson has a 1% completion rate. I mean, the guy, seriously, he's 31st in the NFL over the last 4 weeks in completions. There's a lot of stories out there today on Wednesday.
By the way, the best part of you saying that is if you go to my Twitter right now, Holden, I quote tweeted a tweet that you retweeted while we
I know, that's why I said it.
Lamar, literally making fun of Lamar Jackson. So.
That's why I said. That's why I said that.
Right. That's why I said you're not paying attention.
Correct.
Oh,
I pay attention to everything everybody says.
I appreciate that.
But let's get to our final game here. I got to go get a haircut soon. Browns Bengals. This is the Mango special right here. Browns and Bengals. You know what? Odell Beckham, very interesting person. Allegedly likes getting pooped on, doesn't think COVID can enter his body. I mean, he's unsanitary, yet at the same time, doesn't think. This is fascinating to me.
Listen,
okay.
we could wax poetic about this game. I'm going to choose to let you go get your haircut. I'll be quick. As far as the spread, I lean Browns here. I think that they're middle of the road team that's capable of putting points on the board against really bad defenses, and that's what the Bengals have. At 3, it's closer to a play for me, but I still, even at the current number, I'll lean Cleveland for a little mini get right spot after that drubbing. Total slight lean to the over 50.5 here. The Browns are going to put points up on the board. And I can't trust the Browns to have a consistent defensive effort every week. So it wouldn't shock me if the Bengals throw up some points on the board Sunday. So slight lean to the over, but it's probably a pass for me, and a strong lean to the Browns.
So you say that you wanted to make this quick. Did you make it quick just because there's not that much interest, or you're already decided on this? Because a strong lean to the Browns, that's a big statement from you.
I mean, I guess, but I mean, we're talking about a 1-4-1 Bengals team that has just showed me really nothing. I mean, the fact that they let Phillip Rivers, who I couldn't be lower on a quarterback than I am on Phillip Rivers, right? I hate him. And the fact that they let that guy back into the game after they had that lead, it just tells me everything I need to know about that team. Yeah, do I like Burrow? I do. I think that he's going to be good. He's not there yet. And that defense is a joke. I think that the Browns could put some points up against that team, and I'm not sure the Bengals will be able to keep up with them. So yeah, I'll lean Browns here, even though we faded them last week.
All right, man, going. Let's look at this from the DFS side, and I want to start my guy, Kareem Hunt. Again, year and a half been waiting for this guy to get out there without Nick Chubb. His couple of matchups so far have been tough. Indianapolis and then Pittsburgh. Is this the week he goes bananas at 7-1 on FanDuel and 6-8 on DraftKings? Please tell me it is, because I'm likely going to be playing a lot of him.
Yeah, I'm likely going to be playing a lot of him too. I think it's a great opportunity for him, and I think it's a great opportunity to be playing Bengals ran back. Like, I don't know. I feel like you're waffling on me a little bit, Jay. You've talked up the Bengals in past weeks, and then last week you said last week they shouldn't have lost that game. And I get it, they shouldn't have lost that game, but did they just get out coached? Like, the Colts have a good coach, right? And the Bengals, I don't know how I feel about their coach, but it felt like the young Burrow got out to a good run, and then
I like their offense at times. I do. I think the kid's going to be good, but that defense is bad, man. Now, Football Outsider says they're like middle of the pack. Does that look like a middle of the pack defense to you?
No, it doesn't. And again, I like that, right? Especially from DFS. And I think that's going to be good, because then we can play, if we expect that this middle of the pack defense that they think is really a lot worse, we can expect the Browns to get up early. One thing too, Baker Mayfield, again, like he has had this rib injury and he got beat up last week. I expect it to be a game where the Browns really try to, really establish that run early and get going. And when they get up, what I think they're going to do is they're going to run. Hunt's going to do really well. And then you can just play your run backs. You can play your T. Higgins, your Tyler Boyds. You can play Dusty A.J. Green if you want, but that's not for me. That's how I think you kind of handle this game. I think you play a Hunt, and you run it back with a guy like Tyler Boyd. I think it could be a pretty big game for him.
And that's it? Like, stay away from the quarterback. Stay away from – what about Mixon? Mixon's a guy the old guys were bringing up last night. Mixon.
Yeah, you can play Mixon. I don't mind Mixon. He definitely has the upside. And the encouraging part is he's starting to get involved in the receiving game more. The Giovanni Bernard experiment, it seems like it's done for now, I think. I know he had that one touchdown that tilted everyone. He actually did have 11 touches last week. Geez, that is a disaster. But that was because of the injury, I'm sure. I'm sure he took up that time. I have to go back and look. But Mixon has been getting more work. I honestly think you can go a Joe Burrow, Mixon, and Tyler Boyd with Kareem Hunt. I don't think it's the craziest idea in the world. I'm not saying it's something I want to do, but I wouldn't call you crazy if you did it.
Yeah. I had some T. Higgins last week. That was nice, but does he have the upside to be GPP viable? 8 targets each of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he definitely does. I mean, they're clearly going more to T. Higgins. They're getting him more involved. You saw, I think Auden Tate's been getting, healthy inactives. I mean, obviously, AJ Green, he got a little more work last week at 11 targets. I'm guessing I'm pulling it up now. Tyler Boyd, he got what? Got 8 targets. There's just enough for all these guys to eat. And the other thing you got to keep in mind is let's say that one of these guys, let's say one of them doesn't get a ton of work. Let's say one gets maybe 4 targets or 5 targets. Then the other guy's going to get 15, 16 and absolutely dominate. And it could just be a matchup they key in on. So there is upside for more. It's not like T. Higgins is getting 12 targets and the other guys are getting 2. There's opportunity for maybe to get lopsided one way or another. So there's a lot of upside here for the Bengals receivers.
Okay, guys. It was a good show today. Keg, one more time. What do we got coming up here? How do people get into runpurebets.com?
All right. Runpurebets.com. 20 week, 60 a month. Now we do have, for people that haven't signed up, a promo code. I think it's 25 off bets. If that doesn't work, DM the Run Pure Bets account or DM me at Kegger CEO on Twitter, and we'll get you worked out. Thursday,
bets 25 off. Bets BETS 25 off. Bets 25 off.
All right, there you go. Bets 25 off is the promo code. Thursday will be on for everybody public show on the Run Pure Bets YouTube channel for Thursday night football between the Giants and the Eagles. Should be a fun show. I'm going to just destroy Joey all night long about those Giants. And then, I got you, Holden, bro.
The Eagles are going to just –
Danny Dimes, come on, bro. Come on.
Garbage.
And then Saturday, listen, I think it's worth signing up just to come and hang out with us on Saturday night. Actually, Saturday afternoon for UFC 254. That's going to be a fun pay-per-view card. Sunday, we'll be on from 1 o'clock till 7 o'clock all day, live betting the NFL. Max will have a couple shows, I'm sure, throughout this week for college football. And we'll be chatting it up in the Discord, trying to make people money like we do, man. Should be a fun week.
Mango, what do you got, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be doing tons of shows the rest of the week, I think. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'll be doing the Wood Show is the big one, right? Be sure to get back here for Football Sunday. I'll be doing the show with Tony and Hoop, and it'll be an awesome time. And after that, you're on, right, Holden? You're doing the for the members at Run Pure Sports. You do a premium show. I'm free on.
Yeah,
YouTube,
me and JSU. This is our third year doing this show leading up to lock. We actually, some people want us to go right to lock. We might extend the show another 15 minutes though. We go from 11:30 to 12:30 Eastern time. So we're thinking about extending the show. We're not there yet, but we might get there. Anyways, check that out. Check me out on Twitter at Holden Radio. And my positional previews will probably be out sometime Wednesday. We're moving it back in the week a little bit just because I need a little bit of news before we do these. So that'll be nice. We'll do cash, GPP, and getting wacky. Is Ferkser getting wacky this week? If John is down, that's getting wacky. I think so. He had a great week last week. All right, for Keg and for Mangone, hit like and subscribe to our channels here. Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. Simon, thank you so much for running this behind the scenes. Again, for Keg and Mangone, I'm Holden. Keep running pure.